Hello, everyone, and welcome today to today's GrowthSM talk. Today we have with us Justin Nader, who is an account manager. Welcome, Justin.
Thanks, Alex.
So, Justin, briefly describe to me the responsibilities of an account manager.
Sure. So an account manager supports an organization's existing customer base. That can entail kind of a sales function where you're responsible for increasing product adoption with customers. It can also entail things like renewals and being responsible for retention as well.
Excellent. And so what's a critical element of an account manager's success?
I would say it really depends on the nature of the role and the product that you're in, but I would say something that I personally have found to be critical is having a strong ability to listen and understand what a customer is going through, what their needs are, what they care about, because that's how you can make sure that you're delivering the most value for them and that your organization is doing so as well.
Definitely. Do you have to be in contact with customers all the time to succeed?
Definitely not.
No?
I would say most account managers, what is best practice is tiering your customers. So you might have, for example, like T1, T2, T3 customers. Some of them require more attention and calls and conversations, which would typically be your T1 customers. They're usually bigger, paying a little bit more money for your services. As you go down to T2 and T3 customers, typically there's less engagement needed on an ongoing basis. So I personally might engage T1 customers, some of them every other week, but I would say at least monthly, whereas T2 customers a little bit less. T3 customers, some of them, you kind of set them up for success from the beginning, and then you might not talk to them more than once or twice a year. And as long as you make sure that that onboarding experience is good, that they're set up for success on the platform, I think that's what really matters for some of those smaller customers that might not need as much attention.
But would you agree that this tiering system of 1, 2, and 3, they could still be high paying customers, but as you've mentioned, it's more of a case of this customer is already set for success and understands the platform well, so it may be a less touch environment for them.
Yeah, totally. And it's not just segmented by like the amount that they're paying us. I segment, since my role is heavily sales focused, I segment my customers by potential for growth. So my T1 customers might not be paying us very much compared to the other customers, but I know that there's a lot of expansion potential. So they're going to be a big focus of mine so that I can, see what other products that they can adopt with our company, because it might be a Fortune 500 company that's only spending $5,000 a year, for example, but they have growth potential of $100,000.
Great. So what's a good amount of communication?
I would say as long as you understand how your customers are operating from a holistic point of view, that's a good amount of communication. It's not really a timely kind of thing where you can say like a month is a good amount. It doesn't really matter in that sense. It more matters like, do I understand what my customers care about? Do I know how they're operating with our products? Do I understand how they're doing with our products? Like, are they using them to the best of their abilities? Are they not? And as long as you have that information, I think that is, the right amount of communication, because then you can kind of determine who needs some attention to, better use the product and see more value, or not. Maybe someone else is doing great, and that's awesome too.
Yeah. Do account managers need to be technical?
That is a good question. I would say, again, it depends on the product itself. I would say it certainly helps in this role to be technical. It is definitely not a requirement or like mandatory. It's from my point of view, I would say that a lot of customers, because you're working with an existing customer base, they have a very good understanding of how your product works since they're using it in their day-to-day. So you want to make sure that you also have an expert level understanding of your product, and in order to make recommendations, to find upsell and expansion opportunity, and make sure that the customers are leveraging your products to the best of their ability. So while it's not mandatory, I do think it's at least like very important, if not critical, in for some companies, depending on the nature of the product, to have some level of technical aptitude
or a high level understanding. As some products can be incredibly technical, and you may need engineering resources to conduct interactions with customers.
Yeah, totally.
So what's the difference between an account executive and an account manager?
So in account executive, I would say 99% of the time is a salesperson who closes new business, meaning that an organization who does not currently leverage your existing services as a company is going to come to you, and you sell them some products that your company has that they don't use because they don't have any kind of like business relationship with you or historical context. An account manager, from my perspective, we'll say it's a sales account manager. We are working to support and sell to existing customers who have already come through that AE cycle. So the AE sells to new business. Once they make that sale, we inherit that customer, and we're responsible for growing their product adoption, selling to them. If that would be helpful for them, of course. So it's really kind of a handoff of new business, people coming in that are new to the product, versus us who then manage post-sale.
Excellent. As we briefly mentioned there, you mentioned a sales AM, a sales account manager. Are there other different types of account managers currently today?
Yeah, I would say a few kinds. Number one, I would say, is what I do is more sales focused. So, I have a sales quota. I'm responsible for expanding these customers. There's also renewal account managers who only focus on renewals and not driving upsells. It's more focused on retention. So just getting these contracts through and renewed to retain ARR for your company. And there's also, with some organizations, we've been seeing a huge increase in customer success manager titles. There are roles at organizations where account managers function as CSMs, where they're more of a success, like hands-on role versus selling or renewing. They're more to set up a customer to adopt more products and make sure that they're using the products appropriately.
Yeah, and I think when I've spoken with CSMs and account managers before, there's been a clear differentiation by how hands-on they are with the client and how technical they are, or how sales they are in relation to more open discussions and the success of the client. I've also seen differentiators with the amount of volume of customers they currently support. So some people may support a portfolio of 10 customers, others may be supporting a portfolio of over 100 customers.
Yeah, it definitely ranges. I think as far as the segmentation goes, you typically see like an SMB role will have more accounts that you cover versus, you move up to mid-market, enterprise, strategic. You start seeing less and less accounts where, some of the larger organizations might have a guy managing one account even. That's just worth, a lot of their revenue. So they need to have people, and that actually is usually more than one guy managing just that one account to make sure that that customer's happy. So the role really changes and fluctuates based on that segmentation as well, because obviously having an AM job where you have 100 customers is significantly different than an AM that has one massive customer.
Great. So how does a closing cycle differ between a traditional account executive and an account manager?
I would say one of the biggest things is that as an AE, you are more often than not trying to sell to an organization who does not know, understand, and are not familiar with your product or services or your company even in a lot of cases. So you really have to educate them on like what the company stands for, what the products do, the value that they'll show, what it's like to be a customer on your platform. Whereas an account manager, your customers know what you do. They've been using your products. So it can be a shorter sales cycle depending on what kind of an upsell you're running. And it is also very helpful when you have a rapport built with that customer already. Maybe they've been on the platform or using your product or services for 4 to 5 years already. They love you guys, and it just makes it a lot easier to sell. Whereas you don't really get that with an AE, and of course there's shorter sales cycles or longer sales cycles. It just depends. I would say typically the biggest difference in the closing cycle is just regarding the customer understanding like your organization having worked with you and how comfortable they are working with you. And that historical context can be pretty helpful in a lot of cases.
Definitely. So finally, what advice would you give to an aspiring account manager?
I would say definitely make sure that you're comfortable managing your time effectively. It's really important, especially when you work with existing customers. You are not only going to have to focus on the sales aspect, but also on making sure that this customer is fully supported, because you can't just sell stuff that's, you can get a bunch of short-term gains, but how's that going to affect your customer in the long run? So just making sure that you're managing your time effectively, you're a good listener, and also I would say another thing is that you kind of enjoy working with existing customers versus new business, because the talk track is pretty different. So it's kind of good to experiment, I would say, and learn what both teams do, what their calls look like, maybe listen in on some AE and AM calls and see which path suits you better.
Definitely. Well, thank you so much, Justin, for your time. Thank you, everyone, for listening and joining us today, and have a great weekend.
See you, Alex.
Bye-bye.